You know how every watch collector loves to say, I'm into watches for the history? Well, that's until you mention the brand Breguet. Because apparently the guy who invented half of watchmaking, thereabouts, isn't exactly as exciting as the Rolex waitlist or trending models. Today I want to talk about Breguet, one of the most historically important brands on the planet, and how it's criminally underrated, in my opinion. We're talking about a brand that basically wrote the blueprint for modern horology, yet somehow no one's talking about it. So grab a coffee, sit back, and let's give Breguet the respect it finally deserves. So if you don't know who Abraham-Louis Breguet is, let me introduce you to the man who quite literally changed everything. We're talking about the tourbillon guilloché dials, Breguet hands, Breguet numerals, perpetual calendars, and even the first wristwatches ever made for Napoleon's sister, Caroline Murat. Now, how many times also do I just want to mention right now, have you heard a YouTuber, social media influencer say, Breguet inspired numerals? I can't tell you how many times I've heard that. Now let's go through some of this very impressive man's clients. We've got Marie Antoinette, we've got Napoleon, Wellington, and basically every royal or scientific mind of the 18th century. Wearing a Breguet back then wasn't just flexing wealth, it was flexing intelligence. But here's the thing, the same obsession with craftsmanship and subtlety that made Breguet legendary is perhaps exactly why they've become underrated today. You see, in a world obsessed with hype, Breguet doesn't really play that game. There's no celebrity ambassador flashing a Breguet on a red carpet, no giant social media campaign, no artificial scarcity. They just quietly make masterpieces. Take the Classique line, for example, the coin edge cases, the hand guilloché dials, the thermally blued hands, which by the way, I absolutely love, and you see that amongst so many different brands now. For me, it's poetry, it's art, it's simplicity at its best. Every surface on a Breguet watch tells a story. And yet, mention Breguet in a watch meetup, people look at you like you've just said I collect antique spoons. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you agree. Meanwhile, brands that are Breguet inspired, like Blancpain, Jaeger-LeCoultre, and even Patek Philippe get all the praise. It's almost tragic if you really think about it, because while everyone's chasing hype watches, Breguet is quietly just sitting there, hand finishing perfection, and nobody notices. So why did Breguet fade from the spotlight? I think there's a few reasons. Firstly, the Swatch Group ownership. When they acquired Breguet in the late 90s, they didn't exactly make it their marketing priority. Omega got the blockbusters, Blancpain got the heritage spotlight, and Breguet kind of became older sibling that nobody really wanted to talk about. And second, I think it's the design language. They're expensive, but they don't exactly scream luxury, at least by today's standards. When you spend around £30,000 on a watch, nowadays, most people want it to scream in your face, obnoxiously, especially if you're spending that sort of money. And Breguet is not that. It's simplistic. Let's take the subscription 2025, that beautifully reimagined classic that Breguet had to offer. For me, that one-hand dialed watch is a masterpiece. I got to get hands-on with this when I went to Lake Lucerne in Switzerland this year. Let me tell you, this is one of the most beautiful watches I've ever seen. Yes, it doesn't have a seconds hand. Yes, it doesn't even have a minutes hand, but it doesn't need to. This watch is possibly turning into my Grail dress watch. For some of you that don't know, the Lange 1 is my Grail dress watch for many reasons. The dial is beautiful. The asymmetric design shouldn't make sense, but does make sense. However, this subscription 2025 may just be edging it in that race. And I just think that simplistic, beautiful, elegant dress watch design is exactly what I would love to have. And let me know in the comments if any of you are also a fan of this very underrated, underappreciated watch. Now, here is why I think Breguet is due its renaissance. I feel like collectors are getting tired of hype. We're getting hype fatigue. People are starting to value craft again, in my opinion. Provenance hand finishing and real stories, real history, real heritage. All of us enthusiasts are a sucker for that. And when that shift happens, when I mean by that shift, I mean when that majority shift to that mindset, I guess enthusiasts have, I feel like Breguet is perfectly positioned for a rise again. Because think about it, if you buy a Breguet, you're not just buying a watch, you're buying an origin story of watchmaking. Every modern complication, every bit of classic design DNA, it all traces back to Breguet. Imagine wearing a Tradition 7057 or a Classique 5177 or subscription 2025, the one I've already mentioned. You're literally strapping centuries of horological innovation onto your wrist. Not because it's trendy, because it's timeless. I feel like that is the power of Breguet. It's not about flexing, it's about feeling connected to something much deeper. Breguet might not make the most hyped lists out there, but in my opinion, and I hope in your guys' opinion now, Breguet has the best dress watches there are to offer. Every time you see blued hands, guilloché dials, or even the concept of a tourbillon, that's Breguet's fingerprint. So next time you hear somebody say they love heritage brands, ask them, have they ever looked into Breguet? And if they say no, just smile, because you'll know something now that they don't. So let me know in the comments if you agree with me or not. For me, Breguet, especially if you look at the vintage lineup, you can get some great value propositions now. If you look on Chrono24, Watchfinder, whatever you tend to do your shopping, you can find some beautiful gold pieces from Breguet from the 80s and 90s that still look absolutely beautiful. And honestly, if I see anybody with a Breguet, you're going up in my estimation straight away, because you're picking something that isn't obvious, that isn't flashy, but just screams elegance and screams sophistication. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, please do consider liking, subscribing, and hitting that bell icon. I've been Jag from Jag's Watches, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.